Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So today we're lucky to have a returning guest where we'll dive a little deeper into the prospect of owning a new home at this time of limited availability and challenged affordability. Here to talk about his company's process for home ownership is the founder and owner of MCM Communities, Mr. Amin Khoury. Welcome back to the show, Amin.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me again.
Sure. Well, to get people caught up a little bit, talk about MCM Properties overall. What exactly does your company do from a broad standpoint?
Sure. So we do a couple things. One, we're a manufactured home owner and operator. Our niche in that area is value add. And we're also a prefabricated home dealer. So we do both of those two things. We got into the home dealership business because when you're in the value add community operation business, you are in the home business. You bring in new homes, you site them, and you sell them.
Got it. Okay. And you have several communities in and around the state of Michigan. Not being a Michigan-based company, kind of what makes Michigan an appealing target for your company?
So Michigan just by happenstance is a very hospitable jurisdiction for manufactured homes. I think it's number 6 or 7 or right up there in the country in terms of total manufactured home communities. It's a very hospitable jurisdiction, and that's one of the reasons that we started off there.
Got it. And so how do you measure that? What makes a state hospitable to that type of construction?
It's code and law.
Okay.
The state itself, and then many of the individual towns have been hospitable to manufactured home communities.
Got it. Okay. So, talk to us a little bit about the process for identifying sites, because again, you're not looking for a single plot of land and building a single home. You're building a community. And if you look at your website, can you remind us what your website is for us?
Sure. It's www.mcmcommunities.com.
Got it. And when you look at that, I mean, these are basically what appear to be standard subdivisions with, 70, a couple hundred homes in there with amenities and things along those lines. So, how do you identify sites that you want to put your thumbprint on?
So we look for a couple things. We actually look at median home price in the town and surrounding towns. We look at the condition of the actual community and see if it's the right type of community for our value add approach. And we look at some of the underlying attributes of the towns that we're in. Are they attractive places to live? Can they be attractive? Our niche is more family-based, so we're looking for communities that would contribute to that. And so those are the criteria that we look at. But by far and away, the most important is what the median home price is and where do we think we can deliver product in that market.
Got it. Okay. So when you have a site selected, do you basically build a series of homes and put them up for sale like you see other developers doing, or do you find buyers and kind of custom design each of the homes based on their needs, or is it a hybrid of both? How does that process work?
So you do both, right? You do both. If it's a value-add community, what that really means is that the community has been underinvested in for what could be decades. So typically the first step in a value-add kind of project is infrastructure. Kind of getting in, fixing the roads, adding amenities, addressing the issues of deferred maintenance on the grounds themselves. And after you think through a lot of that, it's time to start bringing in new homes. And that's sort of the process. And it takes place, one home at a time. But it begins to take on some momentum once you've done some of that initial infrastructure and amenity work.
So when the word gets out that, there's this opportunity, new housing is going to be built in this, big parcel of land, and say a prospective customer or a very interested buyer reaches out to you and your team, what kinds of choices do they have? You mentioned kind of manufactured homes, but is there a palette of floor plans and cosmetic designs and colors and all that kind of stuff? Like, is it kind of a custom type built experience where they get to pick different parts of this?
It's custom in that, like cookies that are pre-made or pre-baked, there are hundreds of flavors and hundreds of sizes.
Right.
And so the customization lives in two forms. One, it's the selection process. It's a shopping process. So supermarkets are diverse in what you can buy, but nothing is original there. You can go into any aisle and select any product that you want, and there's hundreds of them. The same concept exists in the home supermarket of prefabricated homes. You can go down the contemporary aisle. You can go down the ranch aisle. You can go down the two-story, the multifamily. And then once you're there, you've got several choices. And then of those several choices, there's at least, again, several floor plans, several color packages, several finishing packages. And so the originality comes from the elimination and selection process of what has already been created.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, that sounds like such a phenomenal, opportunity in today's day and age. So, how do you, in a general sense, how do you manage that at such a reasonable price point? Because there are certainly a lot of home builders around here who just, can't find a way to make that customer service and opportunity pencil as cleanly as you seem to be able to make it.
So we have advantages that traditional, what I'd call stick builders, don't have. Since we're sourcing from a variety of manufacturers, we're also taking advantage of factory and fabrication center scale. So somebody that's building 100 homes has purchasing scale that's far better than somebody that's building 5 or 10 or 1. But somebody that's building 10,000 or 20,000, or from the factories that we primarily deal with, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, you begin to benefit from scaled purchasing, scaled carpentry, scaled tile work, roof work, and plumbing work and electrical work. So when you're buying tens or hundreds of thousands of each of those items, you assemble it more efficiently with less waste, and so that's a cost savings there. You're doing it with the same craftsman every time, and you've engineered efficiencies into that assembly line, if you will, or fabrication line that is just begins to deliver and pull all the way through to the end price points. And that's kind of how you do it. You work with people that do hundreds of thousands, not that do hundreds.
Got it. So now, I think the concept of manufactured home has a stigma, right? I mean, so just over periods of time, that was a cheaply produced house. So talk a little bit about how that's evolved. I mean, with today's technology and all the things, going on in that space over the years, can you give some words of wisdom and comfort to those listening saying, I'm not sure I'd ever want to live in a manufactured home, because it doesn't appear that is, the misconceptions are out there.
So if you flash forward 10 years, maybe 20, I think that 75% of all residences will be manufactured in factories. When we talk about automobiles, jet engines, surgical robotics, none of these things are constructed on site, right? You wouldn't go to an operating room and begin to assemble a robotics surgical machine. It just would never happen. And so producing something in a factory gives you the opportunity to produce it with far more precision. You can turn that precision into, the Soviet-style Yugo, right?
Yep.
Those things, they barely ran. Or you can turn it into a Lamborghini. where it's constructed has almost no bearing on what the specifications are for the construction. So you can build a very poor off-site home or system home or manufactured home or modular home. Those words are largely interchangeable. Or you can build a very good one. In the same way, you can build a very nice stick-built home, and you can build a very poor one. So where and how it's constructed has nothing to do with the specifications that it's designed to be constructed to. And that's the biggest thing, I think, that's been changing over the last 5 years and is going to continue to change, is that the quality of the fabrication centers, the technology that's being deployed into them, the iterative improvements that are made in process, the professional and centralization of purchasing and waste, conservation of waste, all of these things are improving now and improving rapidly.
Yeah, and
that.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and honestly, with you can't read a paper to hear that we are short of people in the trades, right? So manufacturing these in a factory versus having 20 guys out on a home building site that are carpenters. I mean, certainly we're going to need carpenters into the future, and we need more people in that trade. But that's almost a fringe benefit, is that building some of these homes, or a higher percentage of these homes in that factory type setting, is probably a godsend when you consider the labor force that otherwise would need to be used to build these homes.
So I believe that on-site labor and labor just more generally that's the bandwidth bottleneck.
Right.
In all of these projects. I recently talked to a developer, and he was asking us to quote him on, about 150 homes. And we quoted him a price, and he said, well, I can do it for a little bit more cheaply. And I said, well, then you should do that. And he said, but it would take me probably 5 years to do it. I said, why? And he said that his labor was coming from about 600 miles away.
Oh, wow.
So you can do one or two or three more cheaply, right? If I go build a house next door to me today, and I'm out there thumping nails, and my buddies come over, and all of that, you can do one. You can maybe do two, but you can't do hundreds. And that's where the centralization of machines, trained and skilled technicians on those machines, tradesmen, and materials and assembly lines, that's where all of that stuff comes to bear. Is it repeatable? Is it robust? Can you do it today? Can you do it tomorrow? Can you do it on 90 days notice? Can it actually be done for that price? Onesies and twosies can compete sometimes, or on the other end of the scale, a huge national home builder can begin to hit some of these price points. But even those guys are integrating backwards into factories.
Right. I'm going to pause and thank one of my good friends of the show, the Wagner Financial Team. When it comes to managing your finances and planning for your future, I suggest you contact my friends at Wagner Financial. Whether you're just getting started, getting ready to retire, or anywhere in between, the Wagner Financial Team can help you make smart financial decisions. Don't navigate complex problems on your own. Wagner has the expertise to help you feel confident that you're making the right financial choices. Contact an advisor by calling 517-853-3367. or visit their website at wagner-financial.com. You will not regret it. And speaking of finances, do your buyers tend to have traditional lending in place, or does your team have some tools for that as well?
So we have two types of financing. For part of our business, for half of it, which is more traditional, it's single-family homes on somebody else's property that they already own. That's through our dealership and home design business. So that's standard mortgage financing. In our communities where people pay a monthly fee to be there, but they don't pay property tax, that's a separate form of financing. That's called chattel financing. Chattel is something that is where the debt is perfected with a title instead of the deed, like a car, like a boat, like a manufactured home. That's chattel financing. yes, we have an in-house resident finance team that's expert in both types of traditional and chattel financing, and we kind of hand walk clients through that process and help them secure home financing.
Got it. Okay. So your products are both for sale or for lease. Is that right?
We don't lease at all. We don't rent.
Oh, okay.
The underlying land is always leased in a community. Think of the monthly fee. That lease fee is really tantamount to an HOA or a POA type fee. We maintain the grounds, we maintain the amenities, and we pay all the real estate taxes. And in that case, residents pay a monthly fee.
Got it. And I'll tell you, the amenities from what I see on the website on a number of these communities are fantastic. So for those who, are hearing this story for the first time, MCM, is it mcmcommunities.com?
Yeah, mcmcommunities.com.
Yeah, check it out and look at some of these layouts of these basically neighborhoods that have dog parks and playgrounds and pools and things of that nature. So like an HOA, obviously you need to kick in. Everyone kicks in a little bit of money to make sure those things are managed. But think of the benefits of living in a community like that. That's fantastic. So, I listened to your story and I just get excited because like I said, you can't pick up a newspaper without hearing about the shortfall of housing and quality housing, and whether it's new or old or big or small, we pretty much need everything in and around this state. So I just have to ask, what part of your process, if any, is proprietary? Because it seems like you'd either be bursting at the seams with work or have a whole lot of competitors. Because what you're doing, if you're making this pencil and you're doing this kind of housing and this kind of volume, it just seems like we need more of what you're doing.
So there are a lot of competitors. There are a lot of participants in the marketplace. You've got companies as big as Clayton and Champion on the prefabricated side, and then literally hundreds of niche manufacturers of specialty product for the offsite kind of stuff. And so there are a lot of competitors. It's a huge market, right? The housing market is, if it's not the biggest market in the country, it's in the top 5. And so there are a lot of competitors, a lot of different participants targeting different price points. And our particular niche right now in Michigan is on the community side is very high end, price sensitive, but certainly not the cheapest. It's a quality product that we target for family living. And on the dealership or home design side, that's really driven by what the individual wants. The factory or factories will build whatever people want, from contemporary to you name it. It's out there. It exists. It can be designed. It can be sited on a piece of private property. And it's the same skill set that makes that product really cost effective for end users as well. It's the selection process. How well did you review what's out there? How well did you modify what's out there? How well did you marry up that process with the overall design of the land, the grading, the yards, all of that stuff? That's really where the individual that doesn't want to live in a community but does want to benefit from that type of efficiency and value, that's the skill set that's required to deliver it. It's the design and what I'd call shopping process that needs to be executed well.
Got it. All right. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation. Grateful to have you back on the show. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, you can find us at MCM Companies on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. If people have questions, we're ubiquitously there all the time. Just leave a note in any one of the videos or posts, and we respond to them within an hour. So if they're looking for us, that's a great way to find us.
Fantastic. Well, hearing the stories of a founder and owner of MCM Communities, Mr. Amin Khoury, I do appreciate you coming back to the show and explaining a little bit more. I wish you the best of luck, and keep us posted as you have more projects here in Michigan.
Well, that was great. Thank you guys for having me on. I really enjoy it.